Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. Today, we are privileged again to have with us Professor Robert J. Martin, and he is in the process of writing a book, Balancing Work and Life. And so today he is dealing with the chapter entitled Effect and Action. And so all of his ways of explaining these things to us are simple and yet profound at the same time. So, Robert, we're ready when you are.
Okay, well, thanks. Thank you very much, Mona. And I'm a psychologist, and I want to share things not so much that I've just shared with other people, but things that I myself have used. And so if they don't work for me, I don't see how they're going to work for others. So we're going to go on, and I think this will be fun. And we'll go ahead and get started. So today is about effort and action, and I want to give credit to Unsplash. If you ever need pictures for presentations, I like going to Unsplash because they're free and they have all kinds of wonderful stuff. So this is about effort and action. And okay, whoop, we went too far. So effective strategies for success are often the opposite of what we imagine. And so what excites me is learning and using and sharing anti-intuitive strategies for productivity. And what I always find with myself and other people as well, and students, is that the ideas that we have are not always the ones that work. And in particular, it's not about the right ideas, it's about effective action. And that's even true of choice theory. This is one of the big things that William Glasser liked to say. I can remember him saying lots of times is, the problem with a good idea is you have to use it. You have to put it into action. It's not enough to know the right idea. You got to use it. So that's kind of what this is about. So we're going to do some big ideas, and then we'll use some little strategies. So the first big idea is the fact that unreasonable expectations create stress and energy. And in particular for me, because I'm doing I've got all of these projects I'm doing, and no human being could do all of them all at once. So I've kind of learned to pace myself. And as a friend of mine said, never set a pace for yourself that you can't maintain. So we need strategies to deal with unreasonable expectation. Although I think, yeah, jumping into a pool of water is not unreasonable and can be fun. So the point is to focus on effort and not intelligence or talent. This is something that comes from Carol Dweck. And it's like, for many of us who have been good students, we've been told all our lives, well, you're really intelligent, you're so talented. And it's like, no, that is a bad idea. It's like, it's better not to think of yourself as intelligent and talented, because what her research found was that when you tell kids or adults that they're talented and intelligent, then they and we, if we're like that, we always want to avoid difficulty because we don't want to look unintelligent. We don't want to look untalented. So I worked with one of my students who became a gifted and talented teacher, and that was one of the problems that she had, was getting her students to take risks. So in a way, labeling yourself or others as gifted and talented is a big mistake, because then we don't want to step out and take risks of failing. And really, I think if I could do my life over, I would fail at more things, because the more you fail and the faster you fail, the more you learn and the better you get at stuff, because you only learn from failures. So one of the strategies, and that's basically what I'm going to be doing, is a lot of little strategies, is evaluate your efforts and your actions, not yourself as a person, not, gee, I'm not very talented, I'm not good at this. Rather than I'm not good at this, it's like, I have not yet learned how to do this. So caring too much creates resistance, and resistance interferes with acting. And I found this wonderful quote to talk yourself out of caring too much. It's from a book called Tools of the Titans by Tim Ferriss. And he's interviewing a guy named Shaun White, who's all over the internet. And Shaun is actually a skateboarder, something I don't do, but I've done lots of other things. And Shaun says, I say, before he drops into an Olympic run, at the end of the day, who cares? What's the big deal? I'm here, I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to go home. And my family's there, even though my whole world's wrapped up in this, who cares? And he's a gold medalist. So he needs to free himself. All the way 2,500 years ago, people were saying, from Zheng Su, the philosopher, the more you care, the more the archer cares, he goes blind or sees two targets. So we need to sort of, and I know myself, I've been in like several dozen musicals and stage plays, and you're getting up in front of several hundred people and you have to memorize things. And it's really important to go out and relaxed and to just focus on what you're doing and just forget everything else. And that can be tough. So one of my favorite strategies comes from Albert Ellis, and Albert Ellis is very close to Glasser's ideas. And in fact, the two of them met and they agreed that they had very similar ideas. And his thing was, well, when you find yourself demanding something of yourself or others, switch to preferring. I would prefer to do this and to get it right, instead of I demand that I get it right. I demand that you get it right. When we tell ourselves I should, or I must, or I have to, we're demanding, and that creates a problem. It's much more rational to say, I would prefer to do this. So this is a way of making ourselves more rational and more focused on what we're going to do. So when you lower expectations, you can actually raise quality. And I'll give some quotes here. So a good thing to ask yourself is, where does pressuring myself or others interfere with quality? Where does lowering pressure allow us and others to focus on the task? And you really have to try this. And once you try it and you find, oh, it really does work. So I like this quote from David Eagleman: choose frustrating but achievable goals, meaning choose a goal that's a little beyond what you can do, but you know that if you work at it, you will be able to do it. And it's okay to get frustrated. We need to learn to be comfortable with discomfort. We need to be able to run toward that which makes us uncomfortable. So one of my specific strategies is triple expectations of how long things will take. It's irrational to tell yourself, I can force myself or others to finish a complex task in a given amount of time. It never works out. Things take long as they take, and that's kind of become my saying for myself. Things take as long as they take. On the other hand, the opposite of this is also true, that if you're dealing with something that's unimportant, you can set a deadline and say, okay, I used to have a terrible time deciding what to order off a menu. And I taught myself, okay, I give myself 1 minute to decide what I'm going to choose on the menu, because it doesn't really matter. So I did this in a short amount of time. And through practice, I got good at choosing quickly, so that now I can choose. I've learned to trust myself. And even sometimes in major decisions, I can choose very quickly because I really recognize something. Oh, that's something that fits what I want, and I can do this. So I really like the fact that you can train yourself to make decisions quickly, but definitely start off with unimportant things. And then with important things, make sure you collect enough information before you. And that was another Glasser idea, was like, okay, well, if you can't make a decision, collect more information until you're ready to make it. Another specific thing that I like to do is alternate more difficult tasks with less difficult tasks. And then a second strategy is say no to tasks you don't need to do and you don't want to do. This is something that Steve Jobs said. Say no to the 1,000 things that you could do that are going to get in the way, that you can't do everything. So cut down the number of things you're going to do, and be courageous, be uncomfortable in saying no to stuff, and be willing to say no to others. And this is something Gabor Mate says, that those of us who have had trauma in our lives, and I would include myself in that, often find it difficult, if not impossible, to say no to other people. Say yes when you really want to say yes. But if you don't, it's okay to say no. Another specific strategy is chunking. The secret to motivating yourself and others is breaking down projects and activities into chunks that you can readily work on or practice, or that you can revise. I really like the idea that it's easier to revise something than to revise nothing. In other words, when you don't get started, it's better to do something and do a poor job and then improve it. It's like, oh, I'll just get started on this and it won't be very good, but then I'll make it better. So another strategy is identifying unrealistic expectations and replacing them with something, and asking yourself, okay, where am I having an unrealistic expectation? And for me, I know it's like that I can do everything at once. And I've learned that I really get started on these presentations like more or less the next presentation when I finish this one, because it takes me a month to do it. And then I'll get ideas in the middle of the night or in the middle of the day, and then I'll go to. So I kind of let it sit on the back burner and just develop. So make limited commitments, because limited commitments work. Because action creates motivation. We all want to be motivated. I'll do this, but I just don't feel motivated. It's like, no, that's wrong. It's like, we don't act because we feel motivated. We feel motivated because we act. And again, this comes back to Glasser. His whole focus was on, if you want to feel better, act better. If you want to change something, change your behavior, because it's always easier to change your behavior than it is to change your ideas or your feelings, your emotions. And once you start changing your behavior a little bit, then you're more able to do these kinds of things. So, summarizing, 2 basic rules: choose challenging but achievable goals. And then the second thing is design easy steps to the goal. So these are almost opposite. In other words, the goal should be a little out of reach, but the individual steps to the goal should be so easy that they don't evoke resistance. And those two things are opposite, but they work together really, really well. So we all feel resistance when faced with tasks we're not sure we can accomplish. And I've come to believe that the big thing in psychology that we can do for ourselves and for working with others is helping people focus on the effort. And that's something you need to tell kids. It's like, gee, you really may, even those kids who are smart and you think of them as talented, but focus on the effort. It's like you really made a really good effort on there, that your effort really shows, not, oh, you're really intelligent. Because it's like, we can't be intelligent all the time. We can't be talented all the time. In fact, the only way we get to be intelligent and be talented is to fail and do things over and over. So set challenges a little beyond where you are, and then set easy steps and to get started and bypass resistance. It's easier to fix something that you have finished and then go back and, oh, well, gee, I need to fix that. I just got an email this morning from somebody who played one of my music pieces, and I sent it to them, and I thought it was perfect, but there were a bunch of problems with it, and they did perform it, but he wrote me back and said, oh, well, you need to change the notation. And I feel like, oh, what was wrong with me? Why did I screw up? So even though I am preaching all of these things, I find it difficult to put them into action myself when somebody calls me on something that I could have done a better job fixing, and I didn't. But sometimes that happens, and that helps me learn, oh, I need to check things more carefully before I send them out to other people. So it all comes back to making plans. And this comes back to Glasser's big thing. Make a plan. The plan should be simple, measurable, and doable. Those are my three mantra words. And I think if you're going to do Glasser stuff, that's what you need to focus on. Simple, measurable, doable. I like this from David Burns, who wrote a book called The Power of Habits. And what he says is, these aren't his exact words, but my paraphrase: when high expectations interfere with excellence, we can be more productive by lowering expectations. So it's better to do one thing instead of nothing, because then you can go back and fix it. So when do you pressure yourself and it doesn't work? What choice of strategy will help you succeed? And I gave you lots of strategies. You shouldn't try to do all of them. You should just pick one and then focus on that for a month or so until that becomes a habit. So if you're not up to doing even easy steps, do something, even if it's almost nothing. So sometimes it's like, I just can't even get started, and I'll say, okay, I'll just do something because I'm just not up to doing anything. And I'll just, whatever it happens to be, I'll just write down a sentence. And then once I get started, it works easy and works more easily. So the paradox is, I tell myself I'll just get started, and I always get more done than I expected. And I don't know why it works, but it does. So the other night I was working on a music piece and I was too tired, and I said, I'll just start the computer and do one. And I ended up doing more than I expected. So doing almost nothing is always better than doing nothing. So one thing I like is this thing called Units of Excellence, which comes from David Burns' book. And that is, it's better to do two things at 90% than do one thing at 99%, especially if you have a lot of things to do. So I try to look at units of excellence in terms of, am I spending too much time on one thing and maybe I need to just move on? And so the other thing is strategy I really like, avoid comparing yourself with others. Compare yourself today with yourself yesterday. You're never going to look, there's always people who are better, smarter, more talented, make more money, whatever it happens to be, can run faster. It doesn't matter what it is. So compare yourself with who you were yesterday, not with other people. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Very, very good. Very good. I like the twists and turns that you give, but yet at the same time, it's all on an even keel. So,
One of the
especially,
things about this is somehow things got mixed up, and the things that were the summary actually got mixed up and they were more in the middle. So it's like, yeah, and I thought I had it all done perfectly, but you just go on and you do it and it's okay.
right, 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 right.
You'll do a better job next time.
And it's easier to fix something that you finished. That's very clever. To look at it and say, oh, okay, this could help it be a little bit more. So,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. Well, we
You know,
appreciate
one
you
of the
very
things,
much.
yeah, and one of the things that Glasser was so good at is that he went all around the country and he would give his speeches, so he had lots and lots of practice. And I know from my own thing of teaching 3 sections, which isn't as much fun as you might think. Teaching 3 sections of a course. By the third time, even though I was prepared, I was doing a better job the third time. And it's like he went all around the country and did these things over and over, and he got really, really, really good at it. And it's like, gee, I'd like to be that good at it. It's like, well, yeah, you'd need to do it over and over and over. And that's how you get good at it. That's how he got good at it. People look at him and it's like, oh, gee, he's so good at this. But they don't realize he did this over and over and over. And he even said, when I first started trying to do class meetings, it's to demonstrate to the teachers how to do it. I couldn't do it either. And then I got people in a circle and I did it over and over and I learned how to do it. So I think that's one of the things I really respected about Glasser was the fact that he was willing to put himself out there and take a risk. He was willing to put his expertise on the line and figure out, oh, how can I do this better?
Right, right. And it goes back to your topic today of effort plus action, that once you really force yourself to put forth the effort, the action just takes over and it becomes easier to accomplish.
And focus with kids and adults on the effort, not on intelligence and talent, because focusing on intelligence and talent, Carol Dweck, you can see this on YouTube, has spent 30 years researching this and has found it doesn't work. It makes people unwilling to take risks when they think of themselves as, oh, I'm intelligent and talented, but then they won't take a risk. So it's better to think of yourself as, oh, if I take enough risks, if I'm not if I'm not failing at something, if I'm not taking enough risks. And that's how we all learn. And
Right.
that's how we all become successful and effective. It's
Yeah.
about being effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we will stop the recording, and those that are with us can give their input and ask questions. So thanks, Robert. It's very informative.
Thank you very much. So how long did